When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. When you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. That's right. Oh my gosh! Welcome back to my channel. Believe it or not, I have missed you guys so much. I don't think I've actually officially talked to you all since I was studying to retake my MCAT for my post-bac program. So, as you can tell from the title of this video, obviously MedPath went well, my MCAT went well, and I began medical school at the Ohio State University College of Medicine in fall of 2019. Now fast forward a couple months later, and here I am at the end of my first year of medical school. Like, honestly, it's still so mind-blowing to me. And when I think about my journey, not just through this first year of medical school, but through my post-bac program as well, all I can say is, but God. Literally, but God. For those of you who've been following my journey since I graduated from undergrad and actually did the MedPath program, and I did like a Q&A video about the MedPath program, I actually told you guys in one of those videos that I would vlog part of my white coat ceremony. That was very difficult because white coat ceremony was also the first day of orientation for the incoming med students. But I did get a couple clips, and if you are super interested, I'll insert them here. And if not, you can go ahead and fast forward.
Faculty, hard-working members of the admissions committee and faculty swingers. It is with tremendous pleasure and great pride that I present to you the entering class of 2019 of the Ohio State University College of Medicine. Students, would you please stand?
Been an amazing ride. I decided that I would do a kind of recap video about my M1 year experience, kind of how things went and how the transition was from going from undergrad to my postgrad program to now med school, and how different it was, how I had to adjust studying and things like that. A couple of you all have sent me questions asking about preparation-wise, did I feel I was prepared, etc. And my goal is to answer all of those questions for y'all right here, right now. If there is something that I don't cover, feel free to DM me, as always. Summer plans kind of got flushed down the drain because of coronavirus, so I have a lot of time on my hands. So if you have more questions, feel free to DM me. But without further ado, let's get into it. So the first question that I'm asked usually is, how prepared did I feel, or how different was it going from a post-bac program to medical school? And I will say this, post-bac program, master's degree before you get here, it's hard. Like, I don't think that anything in life can honestly, truly prepare you for medical school. I think it's one of those things where you can do your best. You can come in with a plan in terms of how you're going to study, how you're going to manage your time. And just like anything else in life, life happens. The plan kind of gets thwarted a little bit. Things don't go the way you thought it was going to go. And that's okay. I personally felt like, yes, it was helpful to have the information from my post-bac program going in. One of the advantages I specifically had with this program was that some of the instructors who taught certain concepts actually also lectured in the medical college. So some lectures I kind of had already gotten because of my post-bac program. So that was a blessing. And certain things like that, yeah, I could say that I felt like I had a one-up. But honestly, it's just getting used to the volume of information coming at you. I think if I'm being honest, if I had to equate what the difference felt like for me, it would be the equivalent of coming from a situation where you were running on a treadmill and you kind of had a brisk walk going, everything was cool. And then once I got to my post-bac program, I felt like, okay, somebody upped the ante, and now I'm like going a little bit faster. And then when you get to med school, it's just like someone shot the thing up some more, and now you're just like trying to catch your rhythm. And that's anything in life. It's new. But overall, I think I was able to find my balance. A couple things that I did to kind of help me with that was scheduling. I've always been a stickler on time ever since I was back at Spelman. Like, it's just been ingrained in my head. But I became a morning person very quickly because I realized my brain just shuts off after a certain time of the day. And so for me, I will wake up at 5 or 6 a.m. to make sure that I have time to, one, do my devotionals, pray, do whatever, and then get to campus to do all I need to do. For us, lectures start at 8 a.m. And for the most part, that's generally every day. The ending time can vary. It just depends on how many they have. And so I'd get up at 8 a.m. Get up at 5, 6 a.m., eat my breakfast, have my devotional, get to campus. I like to go to lecture. Lecture is not required at my school, so a lot of students don't come and they live stream it. But for me, I like to be in the classroom. It's just something about being in that academic setting that helps me focus. So I go to class, get through those lectures, and then we also have something that we call flex modules. And those are basically modules that are put on your schedule. And you can kind of move them around as you please, but the goal is that you do those on your own time and you find time within your study schedule to get those modules done, in addition to the in-class ones, or if you live stream it later. But you're responsible for that content, but it's kind of like you do it on your own type of deal, but you just better know all the information by the time the exam comes around. And so for me, I'd get through all of those and then review, whether that be flashcards, whatever, drawing out pathways, whatever I need to do. But I will do that up until about 6:30 or 7, and then I'll come home and have the rest of my day to myself. Granted, that's always the plan. Does it always happen? No. Some days I might not feel well, and I'll say, okay, I'll do those lectures tomorrow, and I have to adjust my schedule. Ask me what my schedule looks like closer to exams, and I'm sitting in the library studying until midnight. So, of course, that varies, but in general, that's kind of what I do, and it seemed to work for me. We have a block system, and so first block, Foundations 1, was great. Like, I didn't feel this immense pressure or that like things were too hard. Although I will say overall, medical school is definitely a steep learning curve. And the other thing about block systems is that each block is different. So for Foundations 1, it's not really a body systems based block like everything else in med school. It's kind of like your basic biochemistry and things like that. And it's kind of designed to make sure that all the med students are in the same playing field. And so for me, it kind of just felt like my post-bac a little bit, just up the ante a little bit and throw in some diseases. And then we had Foundations 2, which was similar. Our first systems-based block was actually MSK, or musculoskeletal disorders. And that was the first block where I'm like, okay, let's adjust this a little bit. And so with every block, things changed. And every block is not the same length. So MSK was pretty straightforward, I guess you can say. Cardiopulm was long. So MSK, I want to say was maybe 6 weeks, give or take. Cardiopulm was 10 weeks. So you can see it kind of varies in terms of how you build your schedule. But overall, I love it. I love only having a block exam at the end. We have quizzes throughout. Some are formative, some are summative. We have TBLs throughout. But the pressure of not having separate classes or separate exams and just having like an exam week with live practical, final exam, all that, to me, it's helpful. It's also very helpful if you fall behind in a week. You don't have to feel super pressured to learn it all before a midterm. Although for longer blocks like Cardiopulm, we did have a midterm. We had a midterm around week 5, and then we had our true final with the anatomy practical and all that at the very end. So as you can see, it definitely varies a lot. But overall, I would say that I was pretty prepared. There was no point in this year where I felt like, oh my God, I can't do this, or I'm completely incapable. Now, of course, did I have moments where I doubted myself? Yes, plenty of them. Were there moments where I was overwhelmed about sitting there learning EKGs and sitting there crying with my friend? Yes, absolutely. It's hard, but I definitely felt prepared. The next question that I was asked was, did I feel prepared coming from an HBCU environment to now like professional school? And I do not attend an HBCU for professional school. So a lot of people ask me, did I feel like my experience with my HBCU prepared me? And once again, academically, yeah, I felt as prepared as I could be. But like I said before, I don't think anything can truly prepare you for the academics. But the parts of my HBCU experience that like really, really prepared me is just the mindset and the way that HBCU communities build you up. To have that behind me and to carry me through some of those rough times was honestly like amazing. Like, if anything, I think it's the culture of HBCUs that you carry with you into this new space that kind of strengthen you when times get hard. So I'd say absolutely, you'll feel equipped, and especially just being in a new space. A lot of HBCU grads kind of have this consensus that the way you carry yourself and the way you feel about what you have to offer the world is just phenomenal. And so to have that feeling of pride kind of coming out of your HBCU to kind of pat you on the back and get you through those rough times honestly helped me through some of my rough times as well. What else? Let me check. Y'all know I always have questions on my phone that y'all ask me. What was my favorite memory of M1 year? That is honestly very hard. There's too many. So I guess maybe I'll pick a social memory, because med school is not all work, no play. I definitely made time to go out and have fun with my friends as well. And I also still hit the books really hard and did what I needed to do in the classroom. So I guess I'll pick one academic or clinical example and then one for fun. Clinically, we have a program where we get to see patients early on in our first year of medical school. And we have a list of things that we have to do and skills we have to practice under our preceptor. And I distinctly remember during our cardiopulm block, I had gone through the patient's history of present illness, gone through all of that, and I was getting ready to do the cardio exam. And we had a great time. I always try to make sure that outside of the medical reason for why a patient is there, I just try to talk to them, get to know them. And we were laughing it up, having a great time. And I go to put my stethoscope in my ear to listen to heart and lungs, all that great stuff. And I just remember the patient looked at me and smiled. And of course, I'm like, what's going on? And they just smiled and looked at me and said, wow, you're going to be a great physician one day. And for me, that just kind of solidified, like, this is why I'm here. I think a lot of times you get caught up in studying and your head in the books, and sometimes it can be easy to lose sight of why you started this journey. So for me, that made my entire day, honestly my entire week. When times got hard later on that block studying for the cardiopulm final, I just replayed that patient interaction in my head, and it was just one of those things that kept me going. Personally, or like outside of the classroom, honestly, hard to pick. I've met amazing people on my medical journey, and we have fun all the time. Exhibit A.
Who is she, y'all? Who is this? Looking fine like this.
We always find ways to make it fun. But I think... So it was after our cardiopulm midterm, and we went out to brunch. Can you call it brunch if it was like a Tuesday? Don't know. But we went out to eat, and it was just super fun. I think we sat there for hours. Like, I kid you not, hours. I think that whole day, I don't think I started studying until like 6 p.m. And our midterm started at 8 a.m. And we were done by maybe 10:30, 11. Like, when I tell you we sat there and talked about everything under the sun, and for me, it was just super fun to talk about things that I'm passionate about outside of medicine. To sit there and just kind of have that time to recoup after, like, a solid week of studying super hard for this midterm. Like, honestly, that's one of the things that stand out in my head. But overall, med school, so far, I'm only 1 year in. I love it. Like, even the hard parts, I love it. At the end of the day, this is something I've waited my entire life for. And the fact that I'm just here experiencing it still blows my mind. And then lastly, I know this is like the time of year where incoming med ones are getting like super excited. And so the last thing I'm always asked is, what advice would I give someone in my shoes? And I think I would say, enjoy the ride. Cherish every moment, be present. It can be easy to get lost in the work or in trying to schedule everything to be super perfect. But I say enjoy every moment, be present. For me, that meant like sitting the phone down and just taking time to sit and reflect. Don't let reflection be something you do only at the end of a block or at the end of a major exam. I made it a personal goal that I journaled every night, and I reviewed every journal entry that I wrote during that weekend, during my quiet time with God. And it was just a way for me to see how I've grown. And I kid you not, like, there are some weeks where I saw myself like blossoming into a woman I never saw myself becoming. Not in a bad way, but it's just certain things that I've acquired through experiences here in med school have like brought out parts of me that I never knew existed. And so having that time to reflect and truly let med school transform me really has made a world of difference. Seize every opportunity, even if you don't think you're interested in it. And I know that sounds weird, and no, I'm not saying like become so involved that it's overwhelming, but I have gotten into conversations with people who say like, hey, would you be interested in this? And of course I'm like, not really, but a lot of you know I'm passionate about mentoring. An application came out kind of halfway through my M1 year. The current SNMA board was having like intern positions, and I applied to be MAPS liaison. I love mentoring, but I just didn't think that I would want to take on such a large role. And each year we put on a major conference for pre-meds, and so my role was just to help the current MAPS liaison kind of plan that conference, get everything together, and help the event run smoothly. After that, of course, SNMA opens up a new application for a new e-board. And where do I find myself? Applying for that position. I absolutely loved everything about planning the conference. Yes, it was stressful sometimes, but that was something I never thought that I would want to do in med school. But because I gave it a shot and took a step on faith and just decided, like, I'm going to try this and see if I like it. And here we are. So even if you end up hating something, give yourself the grace to try new things, and you never know. So that would be my best advice, is just to seize every moment and don't be afraid to ask for help. I know every med student on planet Earth is like type A, very need things done a certain way, and we're all used to being at the top of our classes before we got here, whatever the case may be. But if you need help, ask. A lot of times it's not that the resources aren't there, it's that some of us are too afraid to ask. So if you need help, ask early. Don't wait until 3 weeks before an exam for you to say, hey, I don't know how to read an EKG and I should probably figure that out. Or, hey, I don't really know how this endocrine pathway works. I should probably figure that out. Like, if you're struggling, ask. Like, I know it might be a shot to your pride, but just ask. So overall, M1 year was amazing. I didn't come in with expectations of what I thought it would be. So I can't say like, oh, it exceeded my expectations. I didn't have any expectations, but I can say that I've made memories that will last a lifetime, met friends that will be lifelong friends, just experienced and learned more than I ever thought that I was ever capable. Every day during M1 year, I found a way to surprise myself or shock myself that I was able to do something. There have been plenty of weeks where I look at the amount of lectures I have to get through and I'm like, who's going to do all that? And then at the end of the week, I'm like, wow, you did that. It's definitely a wild ride and you learn so much so quickly. So just be patient with yourself, give yourself grace, and most importantly, be open to discovering all that this experience has for you. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as I always say, finish each day strong, but also remember to finish each day whole. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!